Hello and welcome back to the Love Unfiltered podcast. Today I have my lovely friend Myles, who is a single man in Dubai, but also is from London. So he can tell us about the dating scene on both sides of the world. And the reason that I have Myles on the podcast is because as we've got closer, we have deep chats about everything that my listeners love. So I thought it'd be best for him to come on and answer some of your questions and your dilemmas. A lot of the things we agree on, but some we don't. So it could be juicy. Myles, thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
So I'm going to dive straight in because obviously we don't want to do an introduction to you because
Sure.
you're not trying to sell us anything.
No.
But all of the questions here are from my listeners or my followers.
Okay.
So the first question is, what do you think about keeping your ex on your Instagram grid?
For me, it's no.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is what post-breakup.
Yeah, post-breakup.
Post-breakup. Like for me personally, I just think that it looks like to everyone who's either involved in your relationship, friends, or a new suitor that you're not really done yet. Like you're just holding on to something, like maybe the small chance that they might come back. Like for me personally, like my own experience, I would, when you know you've broken up with someone, you need to kind of take all of the elements of them out of your life so you can actually move on yourself. So Instagram is it's very trivial, but at the end of the day, like we live in the information age and everyone has it, everyone's part of it. So my advice would just be archive all of it.
Okay.
Because if I was a new guy trying to court you, for me, it would really be like, is this a competition that I have right now? Like, am I fighting with an ex? Like, it's fine. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not worried about competition. But when you're fighting with someone that has an emotional connection to you like that, it's unlikely you're going to win that battle. And also, I don't really want to be making myself vulnerable to someone who is still on hold for someone else.
Okay, and just by seeing a picture of their ex on Instagram, you can associate yourself with that.
Well, I just assume the reasons for it, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, I do have friends as well that if you scroll far enough, you will see past partners. And I don't think that there's been much, like, cognition or that, like, recognition in their head thinking, okay, I need to get rid of this. However, for me, I think the best way for you to be able to engage with someone new and to allow them to engage with you is to come with a clean slate.
Yep, I love that.
Also, why would you want like your new guy or your new girl to have a visual reminder of something in their head that, do you know what I mean? Even if you make it really trivial about like appearance, right? People will compare themselves. And that's guys and girls, I can guarantee you. So I just don't think it's not very kind, you know? So I would advise people to not do so. But at the same time, it's different horses, different courses. Like I think some people are more comfortable with it than others. Just for me personally, I just don't think it's a good look.
No, I completely agree. And also, it's that thing of us as women, I can count for most of us, we go to find the ex anyway. We want to know.
100%. Yeah,
So,
let you go hunting though.
Yeah, exactly. When we go hunting, we start comparing ourselves then. So if it's there in your face already, it's like, one, we would come to the assumption that they're not over it.
For sure.
I think with men, they're a bit more lazy to it.
I don't think men are lazy, but I think there's also a little bit more of game theory with men.
Okay.
Men are more looking to be like, okay, so you've got her, can I win her?
Okay.
You know? And it's also, yeah, I would say men, generally speaking, are more inherently competitive than women, right? In different type of ways, right? But like to put it onto a sporting field, he's just an opponent.
Yeah.
You know, but then I think you also distract from, am I interested in you? Or am I trying to win you? You know, for some ego boost or whatever it might be. So for women, I would just say, just get rid of it. You know, there's nothing wrong with archiving the posts.
Yep.
And if something were to happen with you and your ex and you get back together, just take them out of the archive. You know, but leaving it there for the whole world to see, I think just screams like, I'm not fully over this situation yet.
But I also think for men too. So if
definitely for men as well. You know,
how soon is too soon
to get rid?
Yeah, to get rid. That's a tough one.
Again, that's really individual, and it really depends on if it was an amicable breakup or if, I don't know, there was something bad that happened. But I would just say there's no time like the present. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't want anyone to do something that is not in their own time. I think you need to be comfortable in your own time of doing so. But again, from my own experience, even like, say for example, you lived with your partner, even finding a bobble in the cupboard could send you over. So it's like, do you know what I mean? So like, do you really want to go onto your Instagram every single day and see a picture of that person? I think it's just better, like, out of sight, out of mind. It's definitely not going to be completely out of mind, but it helps.
And to add another question to this, do you believe that if you were dating someone and they had their ex on their Instagram, do you feel like you have a right to say, can you remove it?
Oh, that's okay. How far are we into dating?
Well, it's got to be you're in seeing stage, because obviously at dating you don't have a leg to stand on most things.
I think more what I would do and what I would tell my friends to do would to ask them, why do you still have it there?
Yes.
I don't think I can tell anyone, especially when we're just seeing each other, what to do like that. Well, don't get me wrong, actually, I'll take that back. I like telling people what to do.
I was just going to say, you definitely could.
I love telling people what to do, but I'm trying to think of a more mature version of myself and how I'd handle situations better. I think the onus should be on, is there something that I'm not doing which is holding you on to this situation because, I don't know, I'm not fulfilling you in some sort of way, right? My first instinct is to go, take those fucking pictures down now.
Literally.
You know what I mean? That's exactly what I want to do. Should it be the done thing? Probably not. And I would argue that some people are more acutely aware to the fact that they have, and then some, I just really don't care that much. Like, I have some friends that are so inactive on Instagram that I don't even know if they're really cottoned on to the fact that it would be there and maybe making someone else feel insecure.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like,
I would also caveat though with saying how quickly you should do it. I don't think that you should do anything to prolong something that's going to make you resent someone. So just get it out, like, before you start internalizing it and then almost getting yourself into a position where you almost penalize them for other things just because you're frustrated with that.
yes.
Do you know what I mean? I just don't think it's, well, again, with hindsight, because we've all done it before, it's not fair.
No, I
So
agree.
just say what's on your mind. If that's actually a reason where it's like that could be make or break, then you've worked it out early. You've like dodged the bullet very early doors. You know, if you just wait until you're months and months and months down the line, and they're like, I want to keep it there for X reason, and it sends you west, well then you kind of have half yourself to blame.
Yeah, no, you are right. And I think the approach of why rather than get them off.
I'm just, honestly, I'm trying to make sure people don't
some girls would
argue.
like it that you just said, no, get them off. Like, it's...
Yeah, definitely.
But
And I
some
think
definitely do.
personally, the women that I would probably be attracted to or would be attracted to me would be receptive to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But generally speaking, I also think it's a good question that it's a bit easier of an icebreaker. You know?
Want to know why as well anyway. So
Yeah,
like
for
for
sure.
me, you know, you would need to approach me with the why.
All it is just changing the sentence slightly. You
Literally. And you get the same result, because
sure.
if someone can answer why but still not remove them, then they don't respect you enough.
I'm also thinking about this from being like agony aunt to a lot of men, a lot of women, and well, having a lot of people had to listen to my trials and tribulations as well. It's just so much easier to, with women, to ask them a question in a way that they're going to be able to be receptive to it and they don't feel like they're being attacked.
Yes.
Because the second that they start to feel as if they're attacked, well then we need to start over again.
Yeah, you are right. Okay, next question is, what about, in a similar situation of social media, but what about having an ex as a friend or a follower
On Instagram.
on Instagram? Or any social media, it depends what they use the most.
Yeah, sure. Again, for me, it's a no. But it's a no for me because if I'm trying to move on, I don't want to... Don't get me wrong. We've all done it. You will go and seek it out at some stage. Whenever it happens, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But I think day to day, just scrolling along your feed and seeing it, having that reminder, and also them having a looking glass into your life, which is now separate from theirs and meant to be private, I don't think it's a good idea. I think it leads to more problems which are unnecessary, you know, like there's been plenty of times, or do you know what it is? You just end up working yourself up. Like the amount of times that in breakups myself that I've known someone is somewhere because they're out with their friends.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, I'm searching the club and then looking at every single story that every single, like, I don't care any guy, girl says they don't do it, they do.
Oh, they do.
Right? Looking in the corners of the back of people's stories from all
Literally.
corners of the earth to be like, is that him? Is that her? Like, it's just not healthy. So I would advise to get rid. However, I also feel that some people would feel it's petty, especially if you've been together for a long time and maybe if it was an amicable breakup as well. So I think the best thing to do for yourself there is that if you don't want to unfriend them, fine, but just mute like all their posts because it makes it so much easier for you to get on with your day, not having that constant reminder. Like I tried it for a while where it was like, just left it there and you just be frustrated that you see someone smiling, you'd be like, what are you smiling about? Like, I'm unhappy. Why are you smiling? It's not fair.
Why are you happy?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for that reason, I think it's just better and it's just easier for everyone in this situation.
No, I do agree. But I have exes on Instagram still. But there's some that, like I would say that I physically couldn't have them on because I'm doing the same story as what you said. I remember, I'm outing myself here, but I don't care. I remember I seen a table. One of his friends had posted in a certain restaurant, and I'd seen a table of a girl's Instagram, and I was like, they're in the same place. They're in the same table.
Send
they
yourself
wasn't.
Absolutely wild. Yeah, no, I know. But to be fair, like specifically talking about you, I know that you're friends with some of your exes still. So I think it really is individual. In my head, the scenario that we're looking at here is from the perspective of someone that's gone through a difficult breakup, is struggling with the situation still.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if that's the case, then I just don't think it's healthy for your own mental health.
But they're the exes that I don't have on social media, the ones that I've struggled to move on from.
I don't think also as well people should worry about like if it is amicable, and I mean like genuinely like it was all on good terms, you just weren't for each other. I think your new partner, new suitor, new person you're dating like can recognize that easily. Like, but it's just such an energy thing. Like if you're lying about that, you're going to get found out.
Absolutely.
So like don't cheat yourself. Like definitely don't lie that early on in like getting to know someone. So
you've touched on something there that I'm friends with some of my exes. What would you suggest about that? Like, is it a good thing? Or coming at it from a dating perspective, if you were to date someone that's friends with their exes, how would you feel about that?
There's a part of me that would like to say that I'm not comfortable with it. And that is the part of me that sort of was a little bit more immature in relationships. Now, as I'm like touching 30 and the whole world's been with multiple people, like you almost have to just look at it from a perspective of like, it's gonna happen. Do you know what I mean? As long as, I think then the difference is that if you are friends, genuine friends with your ex-partner, you have such an obligation and a duty to make your current partner feel so comfortable about that and to make sure that there can't be any wavering boundaries on it. And I also would say that it would be worth having a conversation to know what their boundaries are and what they're comfortable with, because there's no upside to assuming how someone is going to take any sort of situation, you know? So if your new fella or new girl was to say to you, look, it's fine, you're socially still involved with this person, I don't know, from the dynamic of the group or friends or whatever, that's okay. But I want to know every single time that you're in that situation. And to be completely frank, call it controlling or not, but I feel that your partner should have the right to veto if you are going to engage in that situation. Or I don't know. It's a difficult one because like now all I think about, especially when I've got about 20,000 weddings to go to this year. And I think weddings are expensive, right? A new partner can't always be invited. So if you were going to be there and your ex was going to be there, I'm not going to stop your friend's happiness on their wedding day wanting to have both of those people there. But if you're down the pub chilling and I just, for whatever reason, decide that day that I'm not really comfortable with it, I think that needs to be, like, you need to just respect that and move on with it, you know, because it's me that you're engaging with now, not them. And I'm the priority.
Yeah, and to be fair, if my future partner said to me, do you know what, I'm not comfortable with it, well then, sorry, like, I'm with my new partner now. Yeah,
for sure.
And I would respect them because I wouldn't, I'm not sure I would like it the other way around.
No, it is a difficult one because I've always attempted to be friendly, at least, with people who I'm no longer involved with.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can get messy, sometimes it can get complicated. But the only difference or thing that I would say is that I'm single. So when I got into a new relationship, I genuinely believe my opinion would change. And I don't think it doesn't come down to disrespect of my ex-partner. It's just about the level of respect I have for my new partner. And I'd like to always, again, it's a difficult one, but I would like to say anything that I expect my partner to do, I would also absorb and do myself.
100%.
And I say it's a difficult one because there are times when you expect more of people than sometimes you do of yourself and you need a bit of reality check. But I would always be attempting to do so.
Yeah. I agree with you. It just is what you would feel comfortable with. Then if your partner is not comfortable with it, then accept it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I don't think that's not worth an argument.
No,
I agree. It's not worth competition in that. Just get over it.
Yeah.
Again, going back to like even bridging on the first question about keeping them there digitally. If you're like, that's arguably easier for someone to accept than them physically still being in your life. Because we all know as well, ex-partners, whether they're over you or not, see you with someone else, see you happy. It might not be so obvious to everyone else, but there will be subtle things that they do to just touch on that emotion that you used to have. Like, and I would like to say that people are more mature not to do so, but more often than not, they will do so. So it's not a good battle to attempt to have with your new partner.
No. Pick your battles, I think, and that's one that can easily be rectified. Okay. Now, Myles, this is a perfect question for you because you are all about dress sense, and this is the first time I've come on here and actually thought about what I'm going to wear because I'm in front of you.
Because I told you to as well.
Because the conversation we have is what you're going to wear.
3 weeks in advance where the cameras are going to be so I can plan my outfit. Yeah, go on.
Absolutely. So what is your opinion on dress sense in a relationship?
Okay, so I understand the question. You're saying...
Okay, let me reframe.
Go on.
If you... this is going to be tough because I know what your answer's going to be. But if you were with someone that you didn't particularly like, you loved them as a person, you thought they were really beautiful, but you didn't really like their dress sense, well, how would you approach it?
We probably wouldn't be in a relationship.
I knew you were going to answer.
Okay, listen. We probably wouldn't be in a relationship because dress sense, like, honestly, for me, is like... If someone knows how to dress themselves and carry themselves in what they're wearing, like, it can be, it's not like I have like one specific like style that I like, but if someone like rocks their style, like, I love it. But okay, so basically the question is, would I ask them to change what they're wearing?
Potentially, yeah.
I personally look at it this way. So I do take a keen interest in fashion, and then more so in terms of what I'm wearing, what my partner's wearing. I would love that my partner takes my advice and my opinion on what they should wear, just as I would take their advice as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, whenever you're in a relationship, the other person who has strong suits, whether it be in fashion or whatever, end up leveling you up. Like I even had a conversation last night, which is quite funny to be fair. One of my friend's girlfriends came up to me and she was like, Myles, she was like, he bought moisturizer for the first time and he came out of the bathroom and he was like, is my skin glowing? And like she was like, yeah, of course it is, babe. Like it looks fantastic. But like those are little things that like, especially it happens more with men, with like their girlfriends changing their wardrobe or I don't know, leveling up their hygiene or their skincare routine or whatever it might be. I do think that you should have the ability to both weigh in on both sides. So, and you know me, like I'll happily sit in the changing room as Zara all day and watch you put whatever you want on, right? I've sat on websites before, like ordering clothes for partners. For me personally, it's like especially because most women do really care about what they wear. It's nice to have that involvement. So I would say to guys, like, it's not really your choice on what someone wears, but you should be able to have influence.
And it be accepted.
And it should be accepted. Or like, I don't think that there's any situation where even how you frame it, like maybe it's a little bit more of, this is more of a gender thing where it needs to be framed a little bit softer towards women. But if I came out of the bedroom getting ready to go out for dinner and my partner said, you look shit, change that, I'll be like, okay, well, 100% come help me choose what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I think it's the same way. It's like with women as well. Okay, so I'll give you a perfect example with the way that men's heads work. For me, I, especially in a relationship, am never really concerned about what I'm wearing. I'm more concerned about what my partner's wearing. For me, I'm comfortable with walking into a restaurant and every man's head turning to look at my partner. In fact, I quite like it, right? The reasons that I like that is, one, it makes me feel very proud. And then number two, between men, unvocalized, I could walk in there I could walk into like a Michelin star restaurant wearing shorts and a Primark t-shirt, and every man that sees me walk in with someone who looks flawless, immaculately dressed, like holding their head high because they feel so confident in what they're wearing. Don't get me wrong, they'll in their head be thinking, okay, she looks fantastic, but they'll also be thinking, what does he do?
Yeah,
he's got his life sorted out. Do you know? So it's, for me, how your partner appears and how they're dressed is really a reflection of you when you're in a partnership. Actually, in fact, on Friday, a friend of mine came out to meet me and a group of my friends. And after the night was done, she came with one of our girlfriends. And after the night was done, I think it was maybe even the next day, I spoke to my friend and he was like, do you know the friend she came with? It's like, she didn't mention once she was in a relationship. She was so engaging to everyone, but there was just small social cues that you could tell that she was wifed off, right?
I love that.
And it was in the way that she was dressed. It was in the way she was carrying herself. It was in the way that she sat, the way she was engaging with people. And men do notice these things. So I think when you're in a relationship, no one wants that person who's like coming into a new social circle or whatever it might be, sat there being like, oh no, I can't talk to you, got a boyfriend or whatever, right? But I do think that your appearance and in how you carry yourself in the way that you dress just gives this like delicate touch to be like, I'm off the market, you know?
No, I agree.
So it's consideration of that as well. And I think the best way to do that is, and the best way to avoid arguments as well is just take the advice of your partner.
Yeah.
Like I've got so many female friends or girls that I've been with that will message me and be like, what do you think of this outfit? Right?
Yeah, even I would do that.
No, I know. And I love it. Right. And I love it because I don't think that women realise, because they seem to assume men don't care. Some men might not.
Yeah, a lot of men don't.
They will care when it gets to the point though when you're getting ultra amounts of attention and then they have nothing else to equate it to than other than the way you're dressed. And then that makes you feel some sort of way about the way you're dressed, and it leads to stupid arguments, right? It's almost a safeguard for you. Number one, you get to make your partner feel good because they know that you value their opinion.
Yes.
you've said to them, babe, do I look good? Do you think I should change anything about this? And if they say you look fantastic, then whatever happens on the night out and you come back and they want to throw a comment about what you're wearing, well, you said it looked great, mate.
Yeah.
What's your issue? Do you know what I mean? So you get to make someone feel good, and you almost safeguard against any potential argument that could happen. I kind of equate it a little bit more to life in Dubai, especially because even though I don't like playing into this, yes, it is hot, and yes, girls might, or everyone's going to be in swimwear more. But I do think it's important to make sure that your partner's comfortable with it, you know? Like some of the styles and some of the fast fashion concepts that come up, like if you are in a relationship, I think it's just better to check, you know? No,
I agree. And do you know what? From a female perspective on this, there's nothing I love more than when my partner tells me, I think this would look really good on you.
Yeah.
Or
don't get me wrong, sometimes you might be wrong and just like veto him.
Yeah,
because some men have some terrible dress sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously, if they are very well dressed themselves and have a great style, because that also goes hand in hand, then I absolutely do value their opinion. And if somebody said to me, "Oh, that's too short," or but there's a way that you can word it to me that I would understand. But upon reflection on that anyway, majority of the time when I'm in a relationship, do I dress a bit different? Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. Do you know what? That's an interesting one, because again, in a more immature stage of my life, I very much was of the opinion of, I have the most beautiful girlfriend in the world. I want to show her off, right? And there is a small line between, yeah, go out, babe, go out looking like that. Like, I want everyone to know you're mine, right? And how amazing you look. I think that now that I've matured from that time in my life, there's just a certain boundary, or it's not even really a boundary, but there's just a sort of, you can see, but you don't know the full picture.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's actually saving that little bit more of intimacy for your partner, just in how provocatively or how conservatively you might dress, is actually quite nice.
100%.
You know, because everyone, look, let them see the car. You don't let them open up the bonnet and see what's going on underneath, you know?
Yep. And obviously, swimwear is very different. But when we're talking like out on a night out, all of those things, I completely agree. And I think you should dress a little bit more conservatively. If you're comfortable, obviously, it's all about your decision.
Do you know what, though? There's like so many ways that I could list off, and so many outfits I could find that are so classy and so sexy that there doesn't have to be a fight between the two.
Yeah, exactly.
You just have to make sure you're dressing correctly for you.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to the next question, which is a dying question that most women want to know.
Go on.
When is the right time to sleep with someone? And is it true that when a man sleeps with you, they go off you?
Let's do the first part of the question. Would you mind to repeat it for me, please?
When is the right time to sleep with somebody?
Whenever you feel comfortable and ready to do so. Like for me personally, I have friends and myself have been with girls the first night I met them, or on the first date, or whatever it might be, and I lose no level of respect for that person if my intentions for them are to be with them, right? So when I say when you feel comfortable and ready to do so, I mean that you have observed the situation enough that, it really depends, right? So, let's more, sorry, do we need to start again?
No, we don't.
I need to view it in two different angles.
No, but I want to do it with, you're saying there, depending on what you're going into that situation with.
My point is that as much as we all want to pretend that guys are the only ones that initiate one night stands, I know fucking plenty of women that their intention of what they're getting into is just a one night stand, right? Even if they're going on a date with someone, right? Yes. So I don't think it's fair to be like, when is the right time? So let's frame it. Are you saying this is someone that you potentially think could
Yes.
develop into a relationship.
If a woman is going on that date with the man and they see a future with them.
Okay, so I think women get confused one thing with men and sex. Everyone seems to think we're just animals and it's just about sex, and if you give us sex then we're not going to want the emotion right now, right? I can tell you with almost 100% accuracy that if a man is engaged with you and he emotionally likes you, and then you take it to exploring the physical side of the relationship, if both of those things match for you, if your sexual compatibility is high and your emotional compatibility is high, although women might not want to hear this because there might have been more situations where the latter happens, that man will chase you more than you'll chase him.
Okay.
I guarantee you that any man who has been touched by you emotionally and then engages with you physically and it works, he will be the one chasing. He will be the one that is pussy whipped by you.
But how do you know if they are emotionally connected to you? Say if it's date one, are we saying yes, no?
For me, when it comes to date one, I kind of feel like you have to judge it on each situation. If the chemistry is so strong in the room, right? But it has to be on different levels, and you have to really work out for yourself if it's love or lust, you know?
You can't love someone on date one.
I know, I'm not saying you can love someone, but I'm saying if all of these feelings that you're feeling, like all the butterflies that you're feeling, is it just you lusting after them, right? Or is it your mind telling you that this person is actually maybe more likely than the last guy to be able to connect with us well? And I don't think that women should say they have, like, okay, I tell you what, if you want to have a rule, right, I know, like, just to call it a 3-date rule, you have to be consistent with it. So what I mean by that is, if you're going to say to a guy when you go on a date, okay, have a 3-date rule before I sleep with someone, or even if you don't want to vocalize it, there can be no historical evidence of you having a one-night stand. There can't be any historical evidence of you sleeping with someone else on a first date, right? And the reason why I say that, right, is because the second that guy, if he potentially finds out that information, all he goes in his head and says is, so she put me on a 3-date rule, but she gave it up for him straight away. And I know what you're probably going to lead to next saying is that guy probably wasn't a prospective suitor, didn't feel that way with him. It was just like, I don't care.
No, wait. What I was going to say is...
Go on.
On a night out, so if, right, you're on a night out and you sleep with someone,
Sure.
and then you've just started to date that girl,
Yeah.
and then she put you in a 3-date rule, like you say.
After we've had a one-night stand?
No. You found out that she had a one-night stand with someone after a night out, and then she dated you and put you on a 3-date rule.
Yeah.
Don't you think there's a difference there? Because she's not intentionally dating that person. She's...
As I said, like, don't get me wrong, I know we're all human and these things happen, but I'm saying that if you're rolling in the circles where it's like, this guy might likely know someone, and unfortunately, most of the people listening to this podcast, I'm going to assume are in Dubai, or more likely in Dubai, you're in trouble, right? My point is that you're going, okay, how would you, let's frame it another way, right? Let's frame it from the male's perspective.
Okay.
Let's hypothesize that you go on a date with a guy and he says, no, I'm not going to sleep with you until after 3 days. But you know Vicky up the road got taken home that night, and you're lusting after this person, and you have that chemistry there, right? Whether from a feminine perspective you go, okay, whatever, I'm not bothered, maybe.
No,
right?
do you know how I'd view that?
Go on.
I'm more special.
Why do you view it as you're more special?
Because you're willing to wait for me, and means you're willing to actually pursue me more, rather than Vicky up the road who just got shagged off the first date and gone.
But hold on, but how do you know that was the reason for it? This is my point. I think women are framing like sex as like the talisman in a relationship for men.
Because we've had it drummed into us for so long.
Yeah, I don't think that status quo is correct.
Well, this is why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. So for me, look, if you're going to look at it as if, or if you're going to go into the situation as if men are only looking for sex, right? That's all you're going to be thinking about.
No, not that men are only looking for sex. That Right. Once they've achieved that, and I have listened and read and all of these things about
Sure.
into that side of things, but once you give it up so easy, it's kind of like the excitement's gone, so then they can move on to someone else. I know it's circumstantial, but I'm talking like, let's generalize things here.
Sure.
And
Okay, fair enough, right? I think I understand your comment.
okay, let me reframe the question to be, would you be more likely to want to pursue someone for longer if you're not sure about the chemistry, if you're not sure, but you think that the sex is going to be great,
Sure.
and they said no, like, you're going to have to work a bit harder for me for that, would you want to pursue that more even though you're not sure on the chemistry and get to know her a bit more rather than her putting out on the first night?
I have friends who have gone on a first date with girls and ended up in relationships for years after sleeping with them on the first date.
I agree, me too.
Myself have been in relationships where sleeping with someone after I don't even think going on a date, but just seeing them out socially a few times, have ended up in relationships that last years.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, as I said, I think it's very situational. I think it really comes down to if you have that connection. So what I'm trying to say is that this, right? I don't think you should make yourself appear easy.
Yes.
Right? However, if all of the signals are in the room, right? All the correct signals are in the room that you don't think that this person is going to just fly the coop after you've had sex, right? And you feel that you've explored, and you can do this on one day. I definitely have, right? You've explored the person enough that physically is the only other way that you can express that emotion or that energy that's in the room right now.
Yep.
I don't think that you should stop yourself. Now, whether that happens on the first date or the 5th date or the 10th date, who knows?
Yep.
Right? Why I'm saying I don't think that you should have a restriction on it is, why would you want to restrict yourself from emotional satisfaction and physical pleasure if the correct signs are there, right? I'm saying that, don't get me wrong, it could go wrong, right? But you kind of like, dating for me is like, if I assume everything's going to go wrong, everything is going to go wrong. You kind of have to accept that it's just a continuous cycle and you learn from each situation.
Yep.
And don't tarnish anyone with a brush before. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And also, to be completely frank, if you feel that energy and that's something that you wanted to do in that moment for whatever reason it might be, and I don't mean through intoxication, I mean through really wanting to do it, and then it doesn't work out, well, then you miss something. And that's actually shown you that this person wasn't right for you because they've taken something from you and then they've left. Now, I think women more so concern themselves with, okay, but do I look like a slut because I've slept with this guy and whatever, exactly. And how many guys have I slept with? Like, I'm assuming that I'm considering the target demographic of this podcast is probably mid-20s to mid-30s, right? Everyone grow the fuck up, right? Okay. Everyone's been with a lot of people. Like, if you're with a guy that is so immature to really still like penalize you for that or make some assumptions, because the conversation should never be had. Your life before them is private, and he's a child. Okay. Do you know what I mean? So I just don't think that. I think when you're engaging with men, if I'm interested in you, it doesn't make a difference for me. Okay, I'll put it this way: I will pursue someone as aggressively if I am interested. Actually, maybe even more aggressively once I have physically connected with them. Yes. Because for me, sexual compatibility in a relationship is one of the pillars of what I need to make sure that it's a good relationship. So actually working out early on if we have good sexual compatibility, which is not a want but a need for me in a relationship, well then we're saving everyone's time here.
Yeah, fair.
Because if I go on 10 dates, and I won't call it a waste because you had the pleasure of getting to know someone, but then we have sex and I haven't enjoyed it, I will still go.
Yeah, exactly. No, so you're right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I really don't think that you need to concern yourself with being like, oh, do I look this way? And if he's really pushing that down your throat, then Well, he's an idiot.
More for him. Okay, interesting. That has cleared it up a bit, actually, I think. Next question is, what is it like to be a single man who does very well for themselves? Do you think it gives you more options?
Yes, but I think it gives more options because the age group of women, or I wouldn't really frame it with age group, the mentality of women that I'm looking for or want in my life is someone that I hear more frequently of late, which is someone who can protect them, right? And in the modern world, protection equals being able to support someone financially, being able to make someone feel comfortable, making sure that someone feels safe, right? And the currency for that in the barbarian times would have been strength, you know? That's the way you would make someone safe. That's where you would have portrayed yourself as the most admired suitor in the town, right? Now it does come down more to success. I also think that these days, I'm not going to say they're not focusing on looks. I think they shouldn't do. I think they should focus on looks. Everyone should want to feel proud of the person that they're with visually, right? To a degree. But I also think that women nowadays are looking for someone, or the women that I'm looking for are looking for someone who can make sure that if I steer the car, we're going to get somewhere safe, you know? And I think that being successful is not the key to it, but I do think it opens a few more doors. Yeah.
No, definitely. And I think the older that you get, and if you are attracting all like your younger people,
you want to make sure that you can have a family with this person.
Exactly.
And they can provide for your family, you know? And also I think that maybe I think guys get caught up in this with thinking that, oh, well, there's very much a gold digger connotation in Dubai specifically as well,
exactly.
right? Don't get me wrong, there is the cohort of women that are very materialistic and are quote unquote gold diggers. But I also do think that women, as they get older, have to think there is going to be a period of my life where I will be pregnant and have to look after children. I need to be with someone who's going to be able to support me and those children. Maybe if I'm unable to work also, you know? So I don't think it's a massive negative for women to seek out someone who's successful. And also it's attractive. It is. It simply is. Like someone who's worked on themselves or done the groundwork already and isn't a startup is way more attractive than someone that you maybe need to come in and build with. Like, don't get me wrong, that can happen very easily. I've seen loads of relationships. Loads of my friends have those relationships, but they got together when they were in their early 20s.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
And they built together. As you mature, and if you're still single, you kind of need the turnkey house. Do you know what I mean? We don't need to go into the renovation game right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I agree. Okay, next question is, as women, we think that men move on faster from a breakup or that they always end up with a distraction rather than going through the process of the emotions and everything like that. Do you think this is the case or not?
I think it's...
Generalised, by the way.
Okay, generalised. I still think that there's a split. Maybe more often than not, yes, if we want to generalise it. However, I would argue as many women do the same thing. And if you generalise it, right, a distraction, if you reframe it, sometimes is not the worst thing, right? So a distraction sometimes to help you move on from something that was potentially toxic, I actually think can be quite beneficial. And I think that all friends, whether male or female, almost push their friends to do that. Actually, I argue that men might go on their own accord a little bit more. Women almost get bullied by their friends, right? When it's been a toxic situation, to move on, go on that date, have the distraction, sleep with someone else, do what you got to do to get over this person because they don't want them to revert.
Do you think women do that more than men?
I don't think that women do it more than men, but I do think that there is the same percentage of men that do it to women, because I personally fall into percentage of men that internalize.
Yes.
Right? For me, I can't distract myself with anything else because my brain power is completely consumed by thinking about this situation and trying to work out what I did wrong, what they did wrong, what we did wrong, all of these things. So I can't distract myself. Like, there's even been times early on in breakups where I've attempted to, and my energy is so of a broken man that I've literally had girls go to me before, oh, who hurt you? I swear to God. I was like, and this was in my attempt to flirt with someone. And I was like, gosh, is it really that obvious? You know, so I don't personally do that.
No.
So I would like to say it's 50-50. Again, with my close circle of boys, I have friends that do both.
Yes.
With my close circle of girls, I have girls that do both.
Interesting.
The only difference is that men are so much more blasé and obvious with what they're doing. Almost, I think sometimes to help them push the other person away.
Yes, okay.
Women fly so low under the radar, you would never seen it coming.
Fair.
I've got friends that have been on staycays with people when it's gone bad, and they would preach from the high hill that distractions are bad.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's really difficult coming at me because obviously I am someone that says no to distractions, feel your feelings, get over it and all those things.
Sure.
And I am that person in the friendship group that will probably tell you to do
I'll put it
otherwise.
So not saying, I think though, there's an advantage to not distracting yourself, which is in the long term, you definitely get over it quicker and you come out the end quicker. You know, it still takes a hell of a long time.
Yes, but you come out the other end being able to say that you've let it go fully, or not potentially fully, but like in a healthier way. Agreed. Than if you've just gone full steam ahead with someone else straight away just to hide all of your emotions.
Yeah, no, all you're doing is just like postponing those emotions. Absolutely. Like you'll eventually get to them. But again, I almost would say that it's what I do or it's in my taste, but sometimes, depending on the situation, a distraction can be good because sometimes it's not healthy for people to dwell on situations that actually weren't good for them, you know? And sometimes it's quite a nice reminder to people who feel like they're trying to absorb all of this emotion and they're trying to really be thoughtful about it. And what it ends up making you feel is lonely. Yeah. And what it makes you end up feeling is it better to feel like what I feel like right now or to go back to them? And more often than not, your mind will tell you, let's get our way from feeling like this and let's go back to them, which is not the right idea. But sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when you have that distraction, when you have a little situation that you can see how you should be treated, it makes it quite more apparent of how delusional you were and caught up in the relationship. Yeah. So is a distraction always a bad thing? No. Do men do it? Yes, because a lot of men maybe are not as emotionally intelligent as they should be, but I guarantee you that men will still deal with it and still have the same amount of pain. Every single girl that I speak to about this seems to think he's off with someone, he's happy, he's having fun. I guarantee you he's not. Yeah. Right? It's just exactly what it says on the tin. It's a distraction. But even if you want to flip the perspective on that, well, then it's showing you someone who's not being considerate of your feelings as well because they're out there doing this publicly. So let it go. Yeah. You know? But
you're right there on what you say about a healthy, like a good distraction in terms of like a healthy...
Don't go wild. Don't go fucking flying around the town.
And don't go for the same type.
Well, no. Like, you say don't go for the same type.
No, if it was a bad relationship, if it wasn't healthy, like if you're gonna...
don't go for the absolute grafter doing all the silliness, you know what I mean? But like, you don't really know what people are like.
No, exactly. You don't. True.
I think the only reason I get my back up when you say something like that is because for me, it's tarnishing this new person who fundamentally you really don't know with a dirty brush from like for me, you just have to go into it just giving everyone a clean slate. Yes. And until you're ready to give everyone a clean slate and you're just going to, like they say something that triggers you, how the hell is that their fault? How do they know that you've had some ridiculous argument in the past and that has triggered you there, and then you go, oh, that's like, I honestly, the term red flag for me is so overused, and especially by girls who are hurt out of a relationship. Everyone needs to chill the fuck out. Everyone needs to chill the fuck out thinking that you're being love bombed when...
No, but love bombing is a thing.
I know it is a thing, but don't think you're being love bombed because the new guy's just being nice to you. Because do you know what it is? It's that it's such a wide, it's so vast from your last situation. I'm assuming if he was the other guy, you're not with him because you're not going to break up with the guy who's being lovely to you, are you? So let's just assume he's a prick, right? If this new guy's being lovely, right? I know...
There's a difference between lovely and love bombing.
Sure, okay, but I really think that it's being overgeneralized.
I agree, and the term narcissistic is being overused.
Yeah,
like both of those things are. So if you're going to use it, at least know the definition of it. I agree completely.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on men and all women liking every single person's picture on Instagram?
I just don't do it. Like, I just think, okay, so for me, I kind of give myself an internal rule of not really liking anything.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is because I want it to be apparent when I do like something.
Okay, nice.
Do you know what I mean? I think it kind of dilutes the power of being able to do so.
Yeah.
You know, so, and it's also just a bit of like, we could go and talk about icky things all day, but like, do you really want to see someone? Honestly, I feel like it's uncomfortable. If I was, I think it's less so from women. Maybe I don't notice it as much, but I notice friends that do it, right?
Yeah.
Like male friends that do it. When I see their name under every single girl's picture, I'm like, you're just spreading yourself so thin that like when the right girl does come about, how is she even going to realize that like you're treating her any different? I know it sounds so trivial because we're talking about Instagram likes, right? But it is just so part of our culture now that it has to be recognized. So my advice to men would to not do it. Let's just touch on another thing. Also in relationships, like for me, there's got to be some very, very clear boundaries and clear, I would call them rules, but everyone in the room needs to know what we can and cannot do here, because I don't want anyone to feel insecure about anything.
Yes.
Like I've made partners in the past feel insecure by liking things, because when I came out of my single frame mindset of life, when I would do that, I brought it into the relationship, not realizing it would make them feel insecure or it would make them feel uncomfortable. So until it was actually vocalized to me, but vocalized in a way where I actually understood it, not like just beating around the bush.
Yeah.
Like being like, this hurts me, this makes me feel insecure, I don't like it, can you please stop? I just went to myself, I was like, you're just honestly sometimes they're just mindlessly liking.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I think being mindful of it, and for me now, if I like something, it will be a close friend. I'm single, so I can do what the fuck I want, really. But like, it'll be a close friend, someone who, I don't know, it might just be a sick photo, to be fair.
Yeah.
Or someone that I'm trying to court, and someone that I'm trying to be like, okay, I'm trying to make it obvious to you and public that I'm interested. And I think women feel a lot more special.
Yes.
If they're only seeing your name under their posts, you know, as I said, I think it just dilutes it a lot.
Yeah, not just theirs, but like very few people.
Very few people.
Yeah, that's what I like. And it does get noticed. Like as women in group chats, we know who likes everyone's photos. This doesn't even make a difference. You're just expecting their name to be there.
Yeah. Do you know what's so funny as well? Like, I actually had this conversation with a mate the other day when we were talking about, like, the goal for guys is to get into the group chat.
Oh, okay.
Like,
but you can be in there for good reasons or bad reasons.
Oh, no, I know. But our goal is obviously to get in for the good reasons.
Oh, for the good reasons. Okay, yeah.
But when you've got, like, sign off from the board of directors, it does feel good. So,
yeah.
Look, I think, and to be fair, the guys have the group chats that are as deep when it comes to this stuff as well. We notice all of it as well.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it's interesting. I don't think that we really look at Instagram likes, and I think that's why men are a little bit more unaware of how it would make someone feel, because we're not. I've never noticed if someone's liked my post unless I'm hoping they do.
Yeah, true.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes
I'm not like
sense.
going out there looking for whatever. Sometimes Instagram just wants to throw people under the bus anyway. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just see that one specific person's name and I'm thinking, fucking hell, how often are you on here?
Yeah, okay, fair. Right, to wrap things up, we have a tradition on the podcast that you get to ask me a question. So do you have a question for me?
How explicit can I be?
As explicit as you like. Just remember that my mum watches this, but it's fine. I don't care. I don't care.
What's up, Mrs. Corbett? I know how I would answer this question. And I would argue, will agree, or I'll be right. But from the female perspective, what is it that women want in the bedroom? I know from the male perspective, and as I said, I think I'm accurate.
Do you know what? You'd say that you know, but I think it's very, very specific, personal, and all of those things. I like it when a man tells me what they like, takes control of the situation, but allows me to not fully take, like allows me to sometimes.
Sure.
But mainly is by telling me what they like and what they don't like, because every person's different. So if I'm doing something that you don't like, tell me, because you're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
And then I feel more confident if I know that you're really enjoying it. Yes, you can tell by facial expressions and everything else, but like, yeah, if you're telling me, direction is key, because I feel more confident if I'm being directed.
I think we both men and women share that.
Yeah.
But I would argue more women are scared to be vocal.
Absolutely.
But I think what women miss about that is men love to be directed. In that bedroom, right? Yes, I am in control, but you're holding the map. So like, just make sure I don't miss the turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I think it all depends on how comfortable you as a male make a woman feel.
Yeah, for sure.
In terms of how much they're going to be vocal. Yeah,
so this is another, like, I wouldn't call it advice, but like for me personally, like one of the things that I would always make sure is that the woman is ready and comfortable and wanting to accept me. Like you can't go into that situation when anyone's tense, right? And I would almost suggest to people that if you're unsure as a man, like this is like the small things where I think like both men and women get worried about, like asking silly questions.
Yeah.
Like if you're unsure, just ask someone like, can I touch you? Right? That can almost be quite sexy. Like when you're in that moment and someone asking permission to be able to touch you intimately, like that can really, really turn the situation, like turn the heat up. So for me, I think that would be one of the things that women would always want. And as you said, being vocal in terms of not screaming the house down, but making sure that everyone knows what everyone likes in the room. And for me personally, like it's just, for me, it's, I would always want to make sure I get pleasure from giving pleasure. So for me, it's about making sure that the person is satisfied in the room. To be honest with you, if the other person's not satisfied in the room, I don't really get any pleasure.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Myles. I think we might have to do a part 2 because I've got more questions and I really enjoyed it. And
well,
I
we'll
feel
have
like
to
you're
see
very
the edit
honest.
if we have to do part 1 again.
But thank you very much. And thank you to all the listeners. Girls, I hope we answered some of your questions. And if you have any questions or dilemmas, please send them across to me. All the details are in the show notes.
Or you can message me.
And Myles is single, so I'm sure he wouldn't mind if you follow him. And I'll leave his description, his details in the show notes. Not numbers, though. We're not doing numbers. You're going to get bombarded.
Okay, I'm not on Instagram. Just hold tight, girls. It's all right.
Get yourself back on there, then.